Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things Usmnt y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again, my co-host Tocayo. Adrian, what's a good man this Monday evening?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm still down here in La Bella Puebla, about to end my day. But I don't think I am as happy as you are this Monday night.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic, man. I only hope that this loss to Uruguay is able to allow everybody that was Team Triple G, Team greggberhalter, all the media, all the U.S. soccer, I guess directives and everything, all the commentators, whatever analysts that were all Team Triple G. This paints a light on him now that I think it's too hard to ignore, and he's been exposed. And I hope at least this can show show him the door and find somebody else. Because if this doesn't, what is going to do it, man? I mean, I honestly, I still don't even think they're going to sack him. I think this federation is incompetent, but we'll move on. United States lost 1-0 to Uruguay. Ultimately gets knocked out of Copaamerica that they're hosting here in 2024. Yep. Embarrassing. They won one game, lost two. Mexico did better than them. We got more points than them. Mexico got 4 points. USA ended up with 3 points. Mexico's worst generation did better than USA's golden generation. Let me put it that way. So this leaves basically just Canada and Panama as the two CONCACAF representatives in the final 8. But yeah, man, let's kind of go through the starting line here. I mean, it was your typical 4-3-3 from Greg. What else can we expect? This guy does not modify anything. You have Turner in the back, Scally, Riches, Ream, and Robinson. And in the middle, you had the go-to that was in the 2022 World Cup, the MMA midfielder, Musa Mckennie Adams. And then up top, you had balogun, Gioreyna, and Pulisic. So that was a squad that he sent out to play against Uruguay, and we knew this was going to be a close match against Uruguay. We knew at the before the tournament started that this was not going to be the match that sent the Usmnt home, if that happened, or that decided anything. We thought before the tournament started this was going to be just a match to determine who was going to be first place and who was going to be second place. Very inconsequential match, but it turned out to be a very consequential match because of the loss against Panama, which ultimately was the one that did them in. Adrian, what are your first thoughts on this match?
It was when I saw the lineup, right? I immediately spotted Musa, and that to me said something because throughout on the other two matches he didn't play Musa, right? Musa wasn't necessarily part of his starting 11. The fact that he chose to play Musa today told me that he was going for a defensive strategy. That he was trying to make sure that he could secure a 0 on his back, right? Not necessarily focusing on let's go all out attack, because whether he liked it or not, the USMNT needed to win the match. Like the sole goal for this specific game was to go out and take the W. There were no other chances but to go out and get the win. So that was the first thing that I saw, just Yunus Musa on the starting lineup. And other than that, I mean, I really expected to be a regular Triple G kind of approach to things, and that's pretty much what happened. That's pretty much what we received, man. I don't think we can sit down here and say that he tried to reinvent himself or tried something new because he needed to win. He was literally hoping for Bolivia and Panama to tie, right?
Or for Bolivia to somehow win.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, strategies that we question all his strategies frequently, rightfully so. But I think it came down to, again, the last after minute 70, 72 or whatever is when he started putting in Sergeant, Hajiwright. He was playing with Pepi up top. Who Pepi, by the way, was a ghost today. He did not do anything today. And he took out defenders to kind of go all in when it was already too late. Panama was already up 3-1 at that point, and I think at that point had the advantage on goal differential and point wise. USA needing 2 goals at that point. But a lot of people are going to say that goal was offside, and it was not offside after VAR revised it. And you can't blame the loss on that. You can't blame the loss on timweah or being eliminated on timweah. Yeah, he deserves some blame for doing that stupid action, but ultimately, like we discussed in our reactions video to Panama USA, if you're a good team or you're trying to be a great team, you find ways to win or get results. Even if it was a tie against Panama, they would have been good, right? You find ways to get results against inferior opposition like it is Panama. So this game was always going to be a difficult one. We anticipated a loss against Uruguay, but ultimately they get knocked out due to that Panama game. And like we said, Triple G's non-existent strategies here. I want to get your opinion on something
Uh-huh.
because when we were watching the match, we discussed after the fact that man, Pulisic, he for one, I think he was very very bad today, and I think he was especially bad for corners and free kicks. Pulisic, and we've been saying this for a while now. He's never consistent at those. Um, he should never be taking another free kick for the USMNT again, man.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, throughout the entire match, I felt that he was very unorganized, very um, eager to go, I guess, to do something, but he wasn't necessarily focusing on how his teammates were moving around him. It was more of his willingness and desire to be the player that he needs to be for the USMNT, and in the attempt of trying to be somewhat of that player that the USMNT needs, he failed dramatically, man. Um, Name any single free kick, corner cross, whatever you name it, every single one of them went to nobody in the box. Nobody. If anything, he was crossing the ball or sending a cross inside of the box with with that specific effect that benefited the defenders, that benefited Uruguayan defenders, right? So it was very difficult to see him in that position, and I think it's time that we start pointing our fingers at him and demand him to have better performances at the USMNT level, because for the longest time the USMNT has been a safe haven for Christian Pulisic. He gets criticized. He used to get criticized a lot at the club level when he was at Chelsea, and every single time he came to USMNT, it was always like, "Oh my God, this is the Christian Pulisic that we got to see every single weekend at the club level." If Chelsea would have given more time, we would see a better Christian Pulisic. And now he doesn't have that excuse, because with AC Milan, he is a stellar player. He is a regular player. He is a player that contributes to the team and also puts in a good individual performance. But for the USMNT on this specific tournament, he left a lot of things to desire on this match when the team needed the most a leader like him. If he's supposed to be this new Captain America, then it's time for him to start showing it up.
Yeah, I mean he ghosts against big teams when it matters. We saw it against Netherlands. We saw it against in the World Cup. We saw it here again. He's good against Mexico. This USMNT has proven that they're good against Mexico. They know how to beat
Here
Mexico.
we go.
But that's it. He is no Landon Donovan yet. That got that. That whenever they needed him to get a clutch goal, he would come in like at that 2010 World Cup. No Clint Dempsey. He doesn't have that X factor yet. I feel like what you said is true. He gets too coddled at the USMNT. He is the star boy. Because of him and maybe a couple others, Tyler Adams. That's the reason they brought greggberhalter back. It's literally, these guys literally they're like your typical league players in the United States, where it's the parents have all the say, right? We saw that with when Pulisic was at Chelsea and he wasn't playing. His dad would come out on Twitter and criticize. Gioreyna's dad would criticize Thomas Tuchel. Gioreyna's dad would criticize when he wasn't playing at Borussia Dortmund, etc. These players are too coddled, too soft, and they just don't have that killer instinct, man, to go to be criticized. They can't take criticism. They like greggberhalter because he's a team
He's a
coach.
pushover, bro.
Yeah, straight
Exactly,
up.
he's a pushover, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you said it. So, and a lot of these players are. I mean, there's some that aren't. Obviously, I think there's some respectable performances from this Copa America from a couple players. Joe Scally, who we had a big doubt
Yeah.
on, stepped
Mhm.
up. I think he was really well. Balogun found some scoring for him. Unfortunately, he got injured against Uruguay, but he did well this tournament. Anthony
Yeah.
Jedi Robinson, another one. But Pulisic, Mckennie, um,
Gioreyna.
Matt Turner, yeah, a lot of these guys just weren't up to par, man. And
They flounder.
yeah, they flounder when it matters most. And
Mhm.
USA is wasted the biggest opportunity before the World Cup to show something on a big stage. And I
Mhm.
think they're the first team to get knocked out in group stage in Copa America. Some stat like that I was reading before. That host, that host the tournament. Um,
Golly.
yeah. So do you think US Soccer is going to give I guess all US fans a 4th of July birthday present here of firing Triple G?
Ah man, this is a very interesting topic, and I'm glad that we're gonna discuss it, dude. Because you and I have been going back and forth about this, and if you look at our videos maybe a year ago or so, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, hey man, yeah, I understand that the USMNT fans are criticizing Triple G, but let's look at things. Let's look at the glass half full. Compare yourself to Mexico, where Mexico is completely a nest show. and Triple G at least has some sort of like established, I guess, level of performance, or whatever you want to call it, right? He has built something that is repeatable, that is easy to understand. The players know what kind of system they're using every single match, whatever the case may be. But the more I pay attention to every single match, and the more I talk to you, and we talk to other people who are USMNT fans, and they see things for what they are. They're not necessarily cutting off players, or they're not, a an occasion fan, right? They follow the USMNT because they like the USMNT, not because they are in a big tournament like Copa America. The more I realize that greggberhalter has shown this similar symptoms like Jimmy Lozano, and I don't want to compare him right now because this is not the case, but I think right now today it's a good example. Um, I think that the USSF has to spend a lot of time and think things very carefully, because this could set a precedent, right? This could be the time that they can turn things around and make sure that they at least have something in place to have a decent performance in 2026. This is perhaps the first time that Triple G is facing a match with significant consequences, and this will be the time for the USSF to put their money where their mouth is. Now, that is my opinion. That is what I think, and what I would like to see. But one of the topics of conversation that you and I were having is there are more nuances that maybe the average fan knows. I didn't know the little factoid that you told me a couple of days ago on how hard it will be to find another coach for the USMNT under the current salary cap that they have, right? Or the salary
Limitation.
limitation
Yeah.
they have, right? And so it's a this and this is why I'm loving the fact that we're having this conversation, because I think everyone knows that it's time for him to go, but how easy it'll be for the USMNT to find a replacement. I think that's where we ought to focus our attention.
Yeah, the factoid that Adriana is referencing here is that per that lawsuit that the U.S. women's national team had against U.S. Soccer a couple years ago, one of the points that came out and it was established was that fair play, right? So the all money that was made from both federations split equally, etc. And one of that points was that the women's coach was going to be paid the same thing as the men's coach. So obviously there's a Emma Hayes, the women's coach, gets paid a good amount for being one of the highest. She's one of the highest paid coaches in the women's sport, the women's game. But that really doesn't compare to what's the highest paid coaches in the men's game make, and that's going to always limit who the USMNT can go out and get. With that limit, they're not going to be able to get I'm just throwing names out here: Jose Mourinho, a Klopp, or
Yeah.
all these names that people are clamoring for that the USMNT should get. So we have to be realistic in who they can get. That's always going to be a limitation. But, as far as Triple G goes, and if it's time for him to go, I think there's no doubt for a lot of people's minds. And a lot of people have recently woken up to the fact that I think it's time for him to go. The team has stagnated, has plateaued, and even regressed, when we always knew they were going to have to beat Bolivia and Panama, and they didn't do that. And, that just not acceptable at this point in time, where you have your golden generation that you've been hyping up for the last 5 or 6 years that are entering their prime and have been playing together for 5 or 6 years, just doing the same thing they've been doing for 5 or 6 years. Okay, they win Nations League, but they can't get over that hump of actually beating a top 10 nation. And I think come 2026, they have to capitalize on having the World Cup here. Have to have a good show. Have to have a good performance in that tournament. And with this coach, I don't see that happen.
Yeah, no, and throughout this tournament, man, I mean, even on the first match, just like we said with Mexico, that Jamaica was going to be the most important match for them, right? That they had to go out in a banger and score as many goals as they could, because it was going to be a point of contention at the end. We all knew that that Bolivian match for all of these three teams, Panama, Uruguay, and United States, was the game to follow, because we all knew that Bolivia was, and forgive me my Bolivian brothers, but it was a piece of cake. It was a walk in the park. And the fact that Triple G decided to let off the gas and remove all of, just sub attacking players and change his strategy and just play it easy, that to me shows that he understood, or he knew, that there were minimal consequences to his actions. Because if you really understand, this sense of how this tournament plays out and the things that you need to do to move on, you would have bagged at least 4 goals on that match. You could have done it, but he chose not to. Then you face Panama, and then you're completely out of your depth. whenever they go up against you, and you're unable to, make a comeback and demolish Panama when you have done it in the past. And today they just got outplayed by Uruguay, plain and simple. Both defensively and offensively.
Which is
That's
something
it.
to expect. We
Yeah,
expected that before the tournament, but we didn't expect them to go out. We had them
yeah,
winning against Panama and Bolivia,
uh-huh.
which is the minimum that they could have done. Uruguay was always going to be a difficult team,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
I think they played well today, given the circumstances. The USMNT
Hmm.
for bits and pieces of the game, but
It
again,
was
it
a
came
combative
down.
match.
Yeah, it came. I mean, if you look at the stats, just reading them, 49% possession, the U.S., 51 Uruguay. Passes, both of them completed 317 passes. Pass accuracy, 72% for the USA, 71% to Uruguay. Shots on target, Uruguay 5, USA 3. So very close to match in terms of stats. And if you were watching the game, it seemed close. The only difference was that Uruguay was able to take advantage of that one free kick they had and put it in. When the USA really did not. I do not remember a chance that the USA had that was clear to me. They just didn't really. Uh, they did well in the midfield, but they didn't have anything going forward. So
Yeah,
yeah, stagnated team, stagnated coach, a coach where the job fits him. It's too big for him. And changes need to be made. And we just don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath if you're a USMNT fan that changes will be coming anytime soon.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, as we wrap up this episode, brother, what can our listeners find us, dude?
They can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Instagram and TikTok. We post memes, the latest news, and clips of our episodes.
Yep, and just like we did when we started this channel, a post-mortem of the World Cup, we're going to have a
Mhm.
post-mortem of this Copa America, kind of analyzing what went wrong for the USMNT and Mexico more in depth.
Yeah.
Though I think we all know who the culprits are for both teams. So yeah, make sure to follow us here on PPG and on YouTube and on your preferred social media platform of choice. And let us know in the comments below what your thoughts on this match. Do you think it's time for some leadership change there for USMNT? Do you think some of the players are to blame? Yeah, let us know your reactions on this USMNT Uruguay, fracaso where the USMNT has gotten knocked out of group stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hope you enjoy your night. See you, bro.
Take it easy. Liga MX is back.
It is. See you, man.